By popular demand, I decided to come on over to Fairfax, California today. A few of you have been asking me to come over here, and I'm going to treat my beautiful wife Lizzie for some of the ice cream that you guys have been mentioning.
I can't wait to try this ice cream.
That's all she cares about. She just wants the ice cream. So
I don't care for lunch. Let's have ice cream.
We're here to have the ice cream, guys.
Thank you for the tip.
So anybody who saw my last video, I'm actually walking with a real woman. I don't have like the AI girlfriend here. So it's nice to actually have a real woman by your side. Anybody who didn't see my last video is not going to get that joke, but you should go check it out because it's pretty funny. But anyways, I wanted to talk to you guys today about some of the misconceptions or kind of like misbeliefs people have when it comes to buying a home. I saw a pretty good story about this, and you know, a lot of these things are just plain wrong, guys, and I wanted to read some of these things to you, give some of my opinions on this, talk about what the experts' opinions are, because it's all fun and games and interesting until somebody gets hurt when it comes to buying a home. I need to choose a home that's the best financial investment, okay? And here's what the experts have to say about this. Primary homes are not investments. While a home can appreciate in value, no financial plan should be dependent on this. Home buyers seeking a primary home should prioritize living in a place that they find suitable for raising a family and having a life without sacrificing their other financial goals and aspirations. The ROI potential in a primary home should be an ancillary consideration. Now, I half agree with this, only half, and I'll tell you why. Because when you're looking to buy a property, especially right now, guys, because the interest rates are so high and so are the prices, I would be a little bit worried if the property did not pencil out as an investment property, even if it's going to be your primary residence, only because the economy is heading into a recession, guys, if you don't think we're already in the recession. And there's a possibility that people can lose jobs, they can lose incomes, or be downsized in some way that can make it hard to pay your mortgage. And if that were to happen, and you have a property that you can rent out that actually provides positive income, or at the very least can pay for itself, then you could potentially rent out that house, even if you were to buy it now, not have to worry about going into foreclosure or have to do a short sale on the house. But people that don't run those numbers beforehand and only look at, oh, do I like this or do I like that about the house, and don't look at the financial aspect of it, could actually get burned big time. And a lot of these houses that we see here in California actually would fit that criteria of getting burned, guys, because most of the time these houses will cost you double, triple to actually pay for a mortgage on with these prices and rates versus what you would actually be able to rent the same house for. So many of these properties would not pencil out as an investment property. So if somebody bought one of these California houses around here and they lost a job and they had to do something about it, they wouldn't be able to get that money back via renting the house out. That could be the difference of who loses the house and who doesn't, guys. But on the other hand, if you're buying a house that's for your primary residence and you have no intention of renting it out ever, and you know you're going to live in the house, then you can stay away from focusing on all the financial stuff if it pencils out as an investment property, if it's very easy for you to afford that house. It's a very low percentage of your income. So say, for example, the house payment's only going to be 20% of your income or your family's income, then maybe you can get away with not worrying about that very much because you're kind of living below your means, right? And then if something does happen, unexpected layoff, job loss, whatever, you could probably afford to keep that house by getting a different job. That's, I think, the only exception to the rule here, is if you're going to buy a home and you have a high enough income and you're living below your means with that house payment, then I think it's okay to not really worry about if it pencils out as an investment property. Another huge misconception: I can afford a house as long as I can afford the mortgage payment. Here's what the experts say. Many times people just look at the monthly mortgage payment, but that's not all that's included. In addition to property taxes, home insurance, and more, there may be things breaking, or you may want to renovate things. In year one of owning my first home, I spent an extra 15 grand on upgrades and issues that needed to be fixed. Insurance will cover some things, but not all. Then there's furnishing the home. All these factors need to be considered so that you can calculate how much owning a home will cost you. Now, I think I agree 100% with the experts on this one, guys, because owning a home is far more expensive than you probably realize if you've never owned one before. And if you're trying to make that leap from being a renter to homeowner, first-time home buyer, just be ready for that. Like this person said, this is not my account, this is one of the experts saying this, that their first year of homeownership was an additional $15,000 in expenses. So that's a lot of money, guys, in addition to your mortgage payment, your taxes, your insurance, everything that goes along with that. So you need to have extra money left over after closing, and a big chunk of money actually left over, not just a little bit. You can't blow your whole wad on just buying the house and your closing costs, because afterwards you're going to be extremely house poor, and if you need anything, you're going to be in trouble. How about this? People are worried that they're not going to be able to qualify to refinance the house, okay? And this is something that the experts say that you shouldn't be worried about. Now, you guys know how I feel about refinancing, and I've covered this so many different times, and I guess I'll just say it one more time, that you can't refinance if you don't have the equity, guys. It's that simple. And that's what people are concerned about when it comes to qualifying for a refinance, because this is the #1 tactic that real estate agents and mortgage brokers and lenders are telling people right now to just get into the house, because you can refinance later, guys. That's always the same story over and over. And that will be true for some people. If you put a large down payment, say you put 25% down on your house, home prices go down by 10%, you'll probably be able to refinance when rates are lower, if your home value drops by 10%. But somebody in the opposite position that only put down 3.5% for FHA or 5% conventional, home prices go down by 20%, there's no way they're going to be able to refinance. It will be impossible, guys. And the problem is the average person only puts down about a 10 to 12% down payment, and in most areas, home prices may have the potential for going down by more than that. So be wary. Here's the next big misconception about owning a home. A home basically manages itself. After buying a home, a lot of people think that the home maintains itself. A home is a financial asset and a collection of physical materials. So on the financial side of things, consumers need to manage their asset value, mortgage balance, and home equity, and budget for expenses, including property tax, insurance, utilities, and services. On the physical side, homeowners need to perform preventative maintenance, perhaps remodel and protect the asset from weather, fire, and other hazards. A home is a place to live, but it's also a financial asset that needs proactive management by the homeowner. Now, once again, I only half agree with this concept because I follow Robert Kiyosaki's advice on this, and your house is not an asset. It just isn't, unless it's producing cash flow and putting money in your pocket. And the only basic difference between what's an asset and what's a liability is if it puts money in your pocket, it's an asset. If it takes money out, it's a liability. So your house that you live in is a liability. On the other hand, I agree with the experts here that a lot of people think that they're just going to buy a house and throw it on Airbnb or something ridiculous like that, and then the whole thing's just going to manage itself and they're going to become a real estate millionaire overnight. And that could not be further from the truth. You know, owning any freestanding property requires a tremendous amount of upkeep. Okay, I owned a duplex before, guys, and almost every week it seemed like something needed to be done at the duplex. There needed to be an AC repair, a wall repair, a stove repair, the dishwasher repair, the garbage disposal repair, the deck repair, the sprinkler repair, like you name it, we've been through it. And so those things are just, it's not imaginary, you know, those are things that happen at a house that you need to be ready to fix. So if you're in the camp that you think that the house just manages itself, that's not true at all. Here's another misconception. I need to own a home because it's the American dream. Here's what the experts say. The most common misconception people have about buying a home is that they can simply pay their mortgage, taxes, and insurance as long as they can manage those payments. Homeownership makes sense for them. The root of this belief is in the American dream. And the American dream is owning a home. And owning a home could be good for some people, but it's not the only way to build wealth. Renters can build wealth as well. Once again, I agree with the experts on this one, guys. Like, there are more ways than just owning real estate to become wealthy. Is that an additional leg you want to have on your stool if you're trying to build wealth? Sure, but not at the expense of it not jiving with your lifestyle, not at the expense of being house poor, not at the expense of not having any other type of investments either, I would say. So it's good to diversify, like they say, you know, they'll diversify your stock portfolio. Well, it's also good to diversify the type of investments you have as well. And if you're a renter, especially right now, saving a pretty significant chunk of change. I think we talked about the other day that the average rental across the country right now is about $500 a month cheaper than a similarly priced house if you had to make the mortgage payments. When you factor in those mortgage payments plus all the other expenses that come along with owning a house, it can quickly be a lot cheaper to rent right now. And if you're able to invest those savings, that extra $500,000 a month into some other type of investment, whatever it might be, even just treasuries right now could be one of those investments, and you're able to make an income from that, you're able to make a return, that can be worth it. Other people just like to throw the money in the stock market. They don't want to deal with being a landlord or managing Airbnbs and all of this crap, because it's a pain in the ass, guys. It really is. And once again, we're talking about the investment side of things here, and that's probably the other problem with the so-called American dream, right? Like, the American dream has been kind of polluted by this idea that every property needs to be an investment property, going back to what we talked about earlier. Sometimes people just need a place to live. And I know a lot of you guys tell me in the comments, well, listen, Michael, a house should just be a place to live. It shouldn't be allowed for people to invest in this and make money off of it. It shouldn't be a for-profit thing. The problem is, just like with everything else, you know, a few people ruin it for everybody. You have these big institutional investors that own, you know, hundreds or thousands of different single-family homes, and it takes it away from the market, from regular people to buy. And yeah, so should something be done about that? Probably, guys. But the problem is, then we're talking about government intervention, and these guys just tend to make everything worse.
You know, here's my problem with all these houses, especially these old houses. You got this 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, tiny, 1.1 million. This is smaller than my condo in Miami. They want crazy amounts of money for it. And it was built in 1925. And back in 1986, somebody paid 144 grand for this place. And really, the value didn't even start to creep up at all until maybe the late 2000s, almost 2020. And then, you know, somebody built this house 100 years ago, more than that, and you're supposed to take on all the problems for 1.1 million. Good luck with that, guys, whoever buys this place.
And right along with that misconception, you have this next one. I'll never be able to own a home today. People are saying that it's impossible to own a home today because the housing market has higher prices and interest rates, and it's important for people to consider, though, how future economic fluctuation can also positively impact this. Additionally, mortgage refinancing is always an option to help lower interest rates. So once again, I half agree with this expert, because I definitely agree with the fact that future economic fluctuation can positively impact this. What do they mean? Oh, maybe they're talking about home prices coming down, guys, because the economy and the housing market moves in cycles. We have never seen a situation where things continue to boom forever and then there's no bust. There's never been a historical event like that ever, and I don't think we're gonna see one now. And that plays into people's FOMO mentality, right? People think that, oh, I'll never be able to own a home today because of the current situation, when in fact, the current situation is not going to be permanent. So that's the other thing that people need to understand. Like, just because prices and rates are high today doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. So if you have the patience and you don't want to participate in this, you know, ridiculous game that everybody's playing with the market, then wait it out. If you don't have the patience and you feel confident in your financial future and the property you're buying, then go ahead and buy it. Either way, doesn't matter to me, guys. I'm happy when you make the right decision that you feel was good for you. And that's kind of like the whole purpose of all these videos, is to try to guide you in that direction, whatever that might be. You know, a lot of people think that I'm telling everyone, oh, you should never buy a house or whatever. I don't feel like that. That's not true at all. I'm definitely pro real estate. I just think that if you're going to buy one now, you need to exercise extreme caution because you can get burned. Now, one thing I mentioned a few videos back is the fact that the Midwest is still one of the most affordable places in the entire country to buy a home, and it's kind of always been true, but now it stands out like a sore thumb because of how expensive everywhere else has become. Even normal cities in the South that used to be kind of affordable, like Atlanta, places in North Carolina or Tennessee, these places have also totally exploded in home prices over the past few years and aren't really affordable anymore like they used to be. But the Midwest still is. And why is that? What it all comes down to is supply and demand, right? That's what dictates the price of real estate, and the Midwest is simply just doing a better job of keeping up with building and home buyer demand than many other regions of the country. You have a big new construction boom in the Midwest, and just in the past year, you've had the amount of new construction houses for sale in the Midwest increase by almost 25%. That's significant, especially when you look at that compared to the national average. National average for new construction increased about 5.8% over the past year, guys, but in the Midwest it's been 25%. That's wild. There's plenty of room out there to build. You know, I used to live there. I mean, even where I grew up, my backyard used to be a cornfield and there was no other houses around. And even when I was a kid, they started developing the area more, building more houses in the neighborhood, things like that. So there's no shortage of places to build in the Midwest, that's for sure. And even with all this new construction going on, home builder sentiment is going down. In August, their confidence rating went from good to poor for the first time in 5 months, and it's because of the interest rate hikes. You know, people are looking at 8% mortgages today, and people simply cannot afford it. That's going to slow home building down probably in the future. And the biggest problem is these higher for longer rates are making it very difficult, if not impossible, for home builders to turn a profit. And one thing that they've been doing that's been very popular is their incentive programs, the mortgage rate buy downs. But even by doing that, it might not be profitable anymore with these interest rates. And the only thing next that they might be able to start doing to get places sold, cutting the price, guys.
Trick or treat.
Now, getting off of real estate for a minute, how about this one? I saw a story today that kind of made me laugh a little bit because people are finally going to have to start paying taxes on things that people really didn't pay taxes on before. And the story was about if you resold a Taylor Swift ticket for a profit, then now you're going to be subject to paying taxes on that because people buy tickets and then they resell them on Ticketmaster and eBay, different places. People were spending about $2,200 on these Taylor Swift tickets, which is just absolutely nuts. Now, if you're going to be selling items on platforms like Ticketmaster or eBay or really any third-party platform, if you have a single payment of $600, you could be liable for tax on that. Basically, what could happen is you're probably going to get a 1099 in the mail from eBay or whatever platform, Ticketmaster, that you sold these tickets on, and people are going to have to start paying. So on the one hand, this kind of is going to be a disincentive for scalpers out there that buy high value items and try to turn it around for a massive profit. I still remember a few years ago, you know, everybody was doing this with PS5s when they came out. It was like impossible to get one because as soon as one would come out, you know, you had these scalpers somehow buy them all up and then turn around and try to sell it for double or triple what you would actually have to pay retail. And this has been going on forever with different things, especially with concert tickets like this. But now people are going to be having to pay the piper, which might be, you know, a disincentive for people to do things like this. On the one hand, it's kind of good when it comes to that it's going to be like deterrent for people to not be scalping things and, you know, trying to hoard valuable items that people want. But on the other hand, what about like regular everyday garage sailors like me, for example? Like I used to sell all of my old iPhones on eBay after I was done with them, and it used to be a great way to get a good chunk of money to buy the next iPhone. You used to be able to get quite a bit more from eBay than you could by trading the phone in, which isn't actually the case anymore. Now Apple will give you a pretty decent amount for the phone compared to what you could get on eBay after they take their 13% cut, essentially. And then you don't have to worry about things like returns and people complaining and scammers saying that, oh, I didn't receive it or it didn't come in the condition that you said it was. There's a lot of that stuff going on now, and I hardly sell anything on eBay anymore because of all the scammers out there, and I just don't want to deal with it. But here's the part where I think this is not fair for everyday people, right? Like, for example, when I bought that iPhone, I paid sales tax, right? So I paid initial sales tax when I bought that item. Well, now if I want to go sell it and my item sells for over $600 on eBay, now I'm going to have to pay income tax on that. So I'm paying income on my income that I already was taxed on, if you follow what I'm saying, because I used my after-tax income to buy the iPhone. So I was already charged income tax from the government on that initial income I used to buy the phone. And then when I sell it and I make more than a threshold that they say is appropriate, now they're going to tax you again, guys. Again, what I was saying the other day, people need to start boycotting these things, you know, like the taxes are getting out of control. Insurance is getting out of control. The amount people are paying for property taxes and now things like this, like they're just taking more and more of our money and we're getting nothing in return. We're getting a bunch of clowns in Congress that basically do nothing for us, and they just take our monies like a bunch of vampires. It's crazy. So I just don't know how things like this can be justified. Like, there needs to be some kind of, you know, separation. Like, obviously somebody who's trying to flip PS5s on eBay or flip concert tickets on Ticketmaster is a different animal than somebody who's occasionally basically just having a garage sale on items that they already own that they didn't buy to make a profit on. It's stuff that you're trying to get rid of, and you're going to be charged taxes on selling items that you already own, that you already paid taxes on, that you already... It's just nuts, guys. I just think it's so crazy that this is even happening. And they say, you know, keep your purchase receipts, keep track of all of your transactions that you do on marketplaces like eBay and Venmo, PayPal, different things like that. If you get one of these 1099K forms, make sure it's accurate, make sure they're charging you the appropriate amount. And if you think you're supposed to owe taxes, then you're supposed to prepare and be ready to pay these taxes. But it's not really fair. Like I said, it's not fair for people that are not trying to do this, you know, not trying to make a profit on anything. So it is what it is, and this is something that's happening right now, and people are going to be getting those 1099s in the mail pretty soon. And I'm pretty sure we just passed the homeless camp. Actually, I think this is the first time I actually came across anything like that on my walks across Marin County here. Probably just didn't go to the right spots, but definitely wasn't expecting to see that. Anyways, it's time for lunch. It's time for ice cream. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.